AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio.
Let's ride! Go!
Off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It is AFR. We're powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana, and glad to have you hanging out with us here. It is day 2 here from SEC Football Media Days. South Carolina was on day 1, but we're such a heavy LSU day, we missed talking about the Gamecocks. And I want to make sure we did that because the Tigers and the Gamecocks do play in Baton Rouge in September this year. Jay Phillips does radio up there in Columbia. He's good enough to join us here for a couple of minutes. How are you, dude?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
I'm doing really well. The day after LSU goes is always easier.
Well, Gamecocks went yesterday, too, so believe me, I was in your boat.
It's real quick, I want to make sure that's me. Okay. Yeah, let me turn you up.
Okay.
So, there
Is
we
that
go.
better?
Yeah, and I'm still crossing wires. Whatever. Maybe by the end of day 2, my brain is a little fried.
I asked that of my producer. I was like, what day is it today?
Yeah.
Yesterday was really busy.
Yeah, you just finished your show, and now you're coming to do radio with us live. So thank you for that. I do sincerely appreciate it. The conversation at the end of the year last year about Carolina was whether or not they deserved to be in the playoff despite being 9-3. Did you think they should have been, by the way?
I was torn in the sense that let's put it this way. Let's take the last 3 out, if you will. All right, that was in whatever order: South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi. All right, what does South Carolina have in common with Alabama, Mississippi? They lost to them.
They lost, yeah.
Yeah. So
you lost head-to-head.
In that respect alone, it made it more difficult. If you were going to put one in, I might have said Alabama over SMU. We've joked before, did somebody from Bristol or Burbank call the committee and go, wait a minute, you're putting Southern Methodist in instead of Alabama? What are we? Y'all know what we're trying to do here, right?
It's not going to be great for
in that respect, but I do think Coach Beamer, to your point, listen, I think that Carolina fans really believed that win in Clemson was going to be enough from a schedule strength standpoint from whatever metrics are used, because you kind of figured that there might be a 3-loss team in there. And as it worked out, it just didn't quite happen for the Gamecocks. So if I'm perfectly honest with you, no, I don't believe they should have been in, but it's not because I don't think they had a great year or that Clemson win wasn't big, Matt. But again, if you're looking at the teams they were going up against, you didn't beat them, even if you didn't have a bad loss. LSU loss was not a bad loss. Alabama in Tuscaloosa is not a bad loss. And Mississippi just curb stomped you in Columbia because you didn't show up that day. But Mississippi did have a bad loss at home to Kentucky. Alabama had 2 bad losses. But, so, you see my point.
So, yes, and head-to-head has to matter, of course. I agree with you. It's why we need an expanded playoff. Have an actual true playoff, and then all these teams get to go in, and you're not just putting 11-1 Indiana in because they were 11-1. You actually get to go play.
By the way, can I say real quick, have you seen Indiana's news today?
No, I haven't.
Indiana today bought out their home and home with Virginia. And they replaced him with, like, Austin P and, like, Indiana State or something, man.
I mean,
that's just cowardly. I'm sorry. I know we want to talk about that, but I was like, come on, Indiana. It's Virginia.
I understand what they're doing. I mean, they're trying to go 11-1.
Just want to win. Yeah,
and get back into the playoff because the committee has shown them this is your path. And so you're dissuading teams like LSU and Clemson from playing a marquee opener. Why would you play that game if you're going to be penalized for it, potentially playing in the league you play in?
And that's why I think that's what Greg Sankey and a lot of people are saying is we can't have these marquee games be something that penalizes teams. This is what we want. This is what we need. Don't let it hurt us. And I think others are like, well, you got to go win the game. Well, okay. But, I mean, if you're canceling on Virginia?
I know, man.
Come on, man.
So when I look at Carolina, they're obviously losing everything on the defensive line.
Almost.
Dylan Stewart is a
He's
super
good.
significant piece.
He's
Let
good.
me not miss that. But you're losing the other three starters of
Yes.
what was a really good defensive line.
Yes.
Nick Emanwari is gone as well. He was fantastic. He's now in the NFL. Like, what's a realistic expectation for that defense with so many new pieces?
That's a great question, and I think they've had so much depth on that defensive line. Last year, we kind of joked that it was a hockey line. They could just kind of shift them in and out. They really did have about 8 guys up there. They stayed fresh, and I think that was one of the main reasons that the Gamecocks were as good as they were. I think a guy like Stewart, even as an early in his tenure last year as a freshman, was getting doubled a lot, and it allowed Kyle Kennard to thrive in a way that ultimately, Kyle won the Nagurski Award. That's a big deal. This year,
he was awesome. LSU saw it up close in person.
Yeah. And a couple of things for Kyle in that game, right? Good and bad for the Gamecocks.
Yeah.
But I think that Dylan Stewart, I would say this, double him at your own peril in the sense that the way they have developed that talent and depth up front, you still got a lot of guys like Nick Barrett, who was here yesterday, decided to redshirt last year because he was like, you know what? I know I can play, but maybe I'm not going to get as many minutes as a senior. If I redshirt, I'll get more minutes as a redshirt senior. I think Goodwine coming over from Alabama a couple of years ago, he's bided his time. And what was there that Alabama saw in him that didn't work out? And what can Carolina get out of him? JT Gear, I think, is a guy who's going to be better than you think. So they've got some depth. Now, will it be as productive? Probably not. But let's see how much more Dylan Stewart developed. He's the best edge guy at Carolina since Clowney. That's saying a lot, obviously. But even sometimes when JD would get double teamed, Matt, you remember that? He'd still beat you. Can Stewart do the same things and allow other guys to thrive next to him? We'll find out.
Yeah. The another thing that would obviously compensate would be a really productive offense.
Yep.
So I think everyone is talking about Lenore Sellers. The really interesting thing for me about Sellers, Jay, is everybody can see the physical ability, and he made some magnificent plays down the stretch of that season a year ago. I also watched him really struggle at times to throw the football accurately. There were times he made beautiful passes.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if there's a reason to believe, or anything that you've seen or the coaches and staff have talked about, that he will have developed more consistency in the pass game. Because the number, I saw this, I shared it with the audience yesterday with Sellers. It was stunning. In his first 5 games, he threw 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. In the final 7, it was 14 touchdowns and 3 picks, and the Gamecocks went 6-1 in that stretch. Like, very clearly, it's a very obvious statement, but their success is tied to his ability to grow on that.
And I really think his sort of line of demarcation was actually the loss in Tuscaloosa. He played really well in that first half against LSU, remember, and then he got hurt.
The game's very different if he doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, I think so too. But they didn't rush him back or anything, but he did not have a good game against Mississippi. And I think some early decisions in that game really just took the Gamecocks out of it, took the wind out of the sails of the crowd, and they just never got it back. I'm not making excuses, just saying that's how I looked at it. But I thought he played well. Now, listen, he had a bad turnover at Alabama, a fumble, not a pick, but a fumble. And he missed, to your point about accuracy. Gamecocks had a chance to tie the game with a 2-pointer, and he kind of sailed it, I don't want to say, into row J, but, but he just, it was a bad play. And he wants those kind of things back. But after that, they won 6 straight. He led a game-winning drive with nice balls through the air against Missouri. Even the Clemson winning play was a run, but it was 3rd and long, Matt, and Clemson had it covered. But you can see, and we talked with Shane about this the week after the game on our show, he went through his progressions. So the point I'm making to you is there was a quarterback who knew, I'm here to pass the ball on 3rd and long. And he went through them. And Clemson had it covered. And so, bang, I'm going to go. So, and you had those numbers. There were some things that he and Dow Loggins, who's now the head coach at Appalachian State, and Mike Shula, who's now his OC, were really working on. And I think after that Mississippi game, they really said, Lenore, look, you've put a lot of this together. And that Mississippi game really, I think, galvanized them. Again, they went the next week and lost in Tuscaloosa. 2-point loss. They played really well. And then they didn't lose again until the bowl game. And they had a chance to win that bowl game, too.
Yeah. Jay Phillips is with us. Mike Shula, help me understand this.
Okay.
No, help me understand
Okay.
this.
Mike
Shula?
he was available. He was in the area. Obviously, he and Shane kind of hooked up. He was brought in as an analyst, not as an assistant coach. Dowell Loggins was both offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach, and had done that for many years. And it's really Dowell who, I think, when he saw Lenoris, like, hey, we can do something with this. But I think Shane knew that Dowell was going to try to revamp some things after a failed OC tenure with Marcus Satterfield. God bless Marcus, who's also been let go by his good friend Matt Rule. I think sometimes Marcus would just, and I'll get to your question. Marcus would just call a play. Didn't matter who was on the field. Just going to call a play. And it didn't work. And Shane, I remember Shane
bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off.
Right, yeah. And like the second half of that final year with Spencer Rattler, it's like, hey, listen, man, you gotta know who's out there. Anyway, that didn't work out. But so Dowell moves on, and I think that more than anything, Shane and Lenoris and Mike really just I think Shane sees that they have a nice rapport.
Okay.
And that so many times when maybe Dowell was in other parts of the offense during the season, there was Mike working with Lenoris. I think Mike gets a lot of credit for kind of honing those skills, and that, again, that line that you talked about there, I think Mike has a lot to do with that. And rather than go out and find yet another person to work with Lenoris, and let's face it, this is going to be his last season. Let's not disrupt that again. Let's have a level of continuity.
Yeah. Shula hasn't been. I thought so. He hadn't been a college coach since he was fired at Alabama.
Right.
So that was 2006. It was 6. It was right because Saban took over in 2007.
Yep.
That's the last time Mike Shula coached. It's just with a guy like Sellers that everyone assumes is going to have this really high ceiling, right? That's a really bold hire.
I don't disagree, and I think there are thoughts that, hey, however much you might have done with him, Mike Shula was Cam Newton's OC when Cam won the MVP award. Take that however you want to take it. Maybe it's, hey, Cam won the MVP. Duh. But you got to have somebody at least watching film with you and explaining a few things here or there. So how much of that was a benefit?
Yeah.
Again, we're going to find out. And I've done a lot of this, and you and I have known each other a long time too. We've talked about Lenoris before. I do not compare directly Cam Newton and Lenoris Sellers because that would be foolish.
Yes.
Because there is no Cam Newton. But if I said to you, hey, give me if I gave you somebody who's 80% of Cam Newton, would you take him and let him try to help you win college football games? You'd be like, hell yeah.
Sure.
Well, I think that's kind of the boat that Lenoris is in. So let's see if this works. But I think the continuity aspect is the biggest one.
Okay. Before you go, when you look at the schedule, I think Nick Harbor, Dylan Stewart, Lenoris Sellers, like there's good players on this team.
Yeah.
Find me 9 wins on the schedule. Like that's the problem.
Yeah.
Like Ole Miss, Texas have relative cakewalks.
Right.
South Carolina's got in this stretch at LSU, Oklahoma, Bama, at Ole Miss, at Texas A&M, Coastal Carolina, Clemson. I'm like,
yeah.
Who put this together?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Those first, let's go to the first 5 where I think if you're going to have another 9-win season, you better be 5-0.
Yes.
All right, and that includes a game in Columbia, Missouri, and Eli has, by and large, had South Carolina's number.
Yes.
And last year was a barn burner. It was a great game. But you better be 5-0. At worst, you better be 4-1. You're going to need to hold serve at home against Oklahoma and Alabama. I know that sounds crazy for South Carolina because I do not see a win in Baton Rouge. I do not see a win this year in College Station. I think the Ole Miss game could be a toss-up kind of game. I know that sounds crazy looking at last year's score, but I do not think that score is completely representative.
Ole Miss is a dramatically different team. I hate that it's in Oxford. I'm sorry.
But, yeah, no, it is. That's the thing.
I like Carolina's roster this year better than Ole Miss.
I think I do too.
Ole Miss was my pick to win the SEC last year. So I loved Ole Miss last year, and they threw up on themselves 3 times.
So I think that could be kind of a toss-up game. Clemson, who South Carolina beat in Clemson last year, will come to Columbia. I think it's a better team, and by then, I don't know if Clemson's going to lose a game in conference. So Clemson might be undefeated right there. Clemson could be playing for something even bigger, you know, in terms of seeding in the college football playoff. But I think South Carolina can beat them because they've shown they can, and Shane's beaten Clemson 2 out of 4 years. Interesting enough, Matt, both in Clemson. Take that as you will. So I think those 9 wins are there. But there's only a couple of games that I might consider as toss-up games. But again, the one that scares me the most, and it's not because I'm talking to you and to your audience, the one that should scare every Carolina fan the most is having to go to Death Valley.
It's the toughest road game
no doubt
that's on the schedule. So,
and I think a lot is going to be learned. Not everything, but can LSU go to Clemson and win? And what is that kind of Carolina sees both of those teams, so the Gamecocks will be very interested in that ball game.
Yeah, my audience isn't happy with me. I've said all week and for weeks. I'm not going to pick LSU to win that game at Clemson.
Well, you wouldn't be crazy to. LSU's going to be a more talented team, but boy, Clemson's pretty good, man. So is LSU.
Be a fun game.
Yeah, I think it will.
And it shouldn't cost either.
But I think there could be 9 for
point,
Carolina. I think there can be.
It shouldn't cost either team an opportunity
Should
to
not.
play. We want to see these games go play.
And I'm glad they didn't cancel it.
Yes. About Wake Forest buying out the Ole Miss game.
Right. But again, Indiana bought out Virginia. What are we doing? It's Virginia. If it was men's basketball 10 years ago, okay.
Yeah.
And if it's soccer, okay.
We got to see these games in football.
It's football. It's Virginia. Indiana, you were handed a gift. You get a Power 5 team, and you don't. It's Virginia, man. What are we doing? Come on.
I got to go to break. Thank you.
Yeah, buddy.
That's
Always
Jay
fun.
Phillips. It's after further review. We'll roll on here from Digital Drive in Atlanta, Georgia.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Darren James and Associates, brokered by LPT Realty. If you are thinking of selling your home, call the realtor that literally sells more homes than anyone. Call Darren James. Wall Street Journal's Real Trends list of the top 1% of realtors in America just came out. Darren James was number 17 in America on the transaction side. Think about that. And I love telling this story, but Darren had a client and said, man, you sell a lot of homes. And Darren said, well, the one that's most important to me is this one because it's what I'm sitting in right now. And it speaks to his work ethic, his commitment to his clients. It doesn't matter if it's a $50,000 house or a $50 million house. Darren knows the lifetime value of having you as a client will be more beneficial to him than one transaction. It's why he gives everything he has to all of his clients. So if you need to sell your home, you need Darren James. Agent225.com. That's agent225.com for Darren James.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Live from the 2025 SEC Football Media Days, powered by Parish Construction and Roofing. Enter now for your chance to win $10,000 cash at parishbuilt.com. Our coverage is also presented by Rev and Relief Windows.
We roll along from Radio Row here, or Digital Drive. I'll get used to that maybe by the time we leave here on Thursday. At SEC Football Media Days, our coverage all week is presented by Parish Construction and Roofing. Enter for your chance to win $10,000 at parishbuilt.com. We're also presented by Rev and Relief Windows. For many years, we've had a great relationship with our friends over at the Senior Bowl, the Panini Senior Bowl, and the new executive director is Drew Fabianich, who's good enough to join us here. Sir, it's a pleasure. How are you?
Oh, good, Matt. Really pleasure to be here and thrilled to be on with you.
Well, thank you for the time. We appreciate it. We've as we mentioned, had our station, and everyone's had a great relationship with the Senior Bowl over many years. What led you to this path?
Long story short, I left the Cowboys and took a GM job at Auburn. Lost that job in 4 months because the head coach got fired. And then I took the GM job at West Virginia. And again, when they called about this job, I never really thought about it until I kind of got in the weeds with them. I'm speaking of the board that I interviewed with. I didn't have a clue how much that the Senior Bowl was actually involved in civic pieces throughout the city, and the city was so involved in the Senior Bowl. There's something going on that's Senior Bowl related almost every single month of the year. And people have asked me, here, they say, oh, well, where you living? Well, Mobile, yeah. And I was like, because it's full-time gig, and there's a lot going on that people don't even see. I mean, we're involved with, the NFL flag football for the young kids. We sponsor that. We give away $5,000 to every single high school, in Mobile, for uniforms or whatever they're going to use it for. We have uniform giveaways after we're done with the practice gear from the year before. I mean, there's so many things that, are tied with the community that I didn't even have a clue about. So what brought me to it was it checked a lot of boxes for me and my wife. I wanted to be back down south. I wanted to be close to the coast, wanted to be close to the beach.
You succeeded there.
Yes, and we've got family over in St. Augustine, Florida. So we're close to them. We also have some family, that are going to be moving to Pensacola too. So again, it was a lot of, the boxes were checking off every time I talked to these, talk to the power brokers and, the board. Well, and again, I'm part of football still, but I don't have to deal with the NIL piece of it. I don't have to deal with the revenue sharing. I don't have to deal with a lot of what's going on in college football right now that I really don't like, but I realized I had to do it just because it was part of the business. So again, and the other part of this too now is I don't have to win this game to keep my job.
Yeah.
Somebody told me that, nigga, I said, that's a hell of a point, because everything I've ever done in football, you had to win the games or you got fired, or you didn't win, when I was playing. So, I mean, it was really, really attractive to me. Plus, Jim had done a really good job. Phil Savage did a good job before him. This wasn't broken. Now my job is to be the steward of this and to just try to take this to a different level. And the biggest piece to me is that we still have to remember this is about the players. And we got to make it better for the players, whether it's the schedule that I'm going to change and whether it's how the practice sessions are done, whether it's the time that they have to get, have to spend at night where they're going to get more off time. I mean, because again, they have to understand that this is about them and it's a pleasurable experience for them to come to it.
Yeah.
And they also have to understand that it's a very valuable piece in the draft process, because again, it's you play the best against the best. And I go back to Bill Parcells when we used to, pull out a guy and we'd say, here's a cut up. He said, I don't want a damn cut up. He said, I want to see him playing against the best possible player that you can find him playing against. Well, you do that down to Senior Bowl every time you come down there. Well, you're going to be lining up against not one of the best. You're going to be lining up against the best at every position, down there. So if you perform well there, you're going to increase your draft value. And the perfect example is the young man Zabel from North Dakota State last year. The league had him as a high third. Well, he goes 18th pick in the first round. On a 4-year contract, that's a $12.7 million difference. Just in that space, how he increased his value.
It's a pretty profitable week.
No doubt. So you perform well in practice, you perform well in the game. I mean, it makes a difference. And that's the biggest thing to me. I got to sell not just the player, I got to sell the agent. And again, I brought this up to Greg McElroy. I said, I did a study, the guys that got injured, because agents always going to say, well, there's a possibility you get injured. There's a possibility you get hit by a truck too. Well, only 1% of the players that played in the game had an injury where they could not finish the game. Now, I'm not talking about some hamstring or whatever, right? And Greg goes, I was at 1%.
Was he really?
He broke his thumb in the game.
Oh, wow.
Right? So I was like, okay, well, there you go. I mean, I didn't remember it was you. I was just looking at the analytics and the statistics. So, again, it sounded like I'm a salesman. Well, I am, because I'm recruiting.
Right.
Right? Well, how important is it for you to play in this game? That's what everybody has to understand. And the guys that have been on this station, the guys that have been around, guys that have played in it, every single one of them said it has benefited their career to play in the Senior Bowl. So the Panini Senior Bowl, which is big too.
Yeah. So because Reese's was the sponsor for a while. So the deal with Panini is interesting because there's such a trading card cultural boom in the last 3 to 4 years.
Agreed.
Certainly. How did the deal with Panini come together?
Well, they were the sponsorship for the practices for the last 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
And they had their own Panini night, like on a Wednesday. And I guess last year they brought like a digital way to do cards, and they could print them right there that night. Well, I guess it went nuts on social. I mean, the guys were posting their cards. They had them in the plastic holders. They were going nuts with it. And they were like, gosh, we get this much exposure just for that. Why wouldn't we do the whole game?
Right.
And get involved in the community? They donated, to 2 of our, local charities. They've gotten involved in every single aspect that we do every single month. Because again, there's something going on every single month in Mobile for the Senior Bowl. or Senior Bowl related that we're part of. So I think they saw the value, and I saw the value. As soon as they said Panini, I was like all in. I said, because I wanted, and again, Reese's was a great partner for a lot of years, but having a sports, company involved in football, I think is a great deal. And I think that the players are going to see that they can increase their brand, with Panini. Plus, Panini may be already representing,
Sure.
some of the players that we're already, inviting.
Yeah.
So I would think that they would want them to play, wouldn't you?
I think there's enough of a proven track record with the Senior Bowl that it's mostly beneficial to the guys who go and participate in the practices and in the games. Drew Fabianich is with us here, executive director of the Senior Bowl. So let's get to a little bit of the brass tacks of the game this year and the week. How is recruitment going? Maybe when does that? You say you never stop recruiting, but how is that process going for this year?
Well, I mean, I'm recruiting here,
right?
To be quite honest with you. Now we're putting out a different list in middle August. We've already evaluated what we want. Now, again, guys can play up into it. They can play up into an invite because not everybody has played enough or proven themselves enough to where I can say, hey, you're ready to go right now, and you've only played 2 games. Well, I've got to see a little bit more proof. Plus, that evaluation process is ongoing throughout the year, but we're still going to put our primary list out in August.
Mm-hmm.
So we're ahead of it. And then as soon as this game's over with and we start with the next class for the next group, this is no different than preparing for the draft for the NFL. None. We built it the same way. Jim built it the same way, where area scouts and scouting assistants are doing the groundwork. My director of football operations, Jack Gilmore, and myself, we're deciding on where the stacks are, and how, one player is better than the next this position. And then we're put together the list to send out to the schools. And we're going to put it out on social, and it's going to be huge because it's a big change. And the practices and the week is also going to change. There's only going to be formal interviews on Monday night, and then the evenings are going to be free after a short presentation of whether it's Merrill Lynch or, whether it's Morgan Stanley or whatever, or it's NFLPA and then Panini. Those evenings the players are going to have time to get with their agents. They're going to have time to, recover. Well, everything's going to happen in the morning on the formal interviews. So I had to push practice back, about 45 minutes per. Well, here's where it got better for everybody in the community. The second practice, you're going to be able to take your kids to the second practice and see almost the whole thing.
Cool.
Because it's not going to end until 6 and you stand at 4:30. Well, we're doing that to actually help those people because not everybody can go to the game. But it also, those kids don't get many opportunities to see those guys up close and personal, and they're going to be able to, be pretty close to those guys right then.
Sure.
So there's a lot of things that I'm trying to do just to make it better for everybody. And trust me, Matt, I'm not going to make everybody happy. But if I can make 80% of the people happy with the experience, I'm good. But I want the players to say when they're done, I want them to go to those next guys, their old teammates, say, hell yes, I'll go again. I'll be doing it in a second, because I want them to be my salesman.
Sure. What about the LSU guys? There were a couple here on Monday that I'm sure you'd like to lure into that game. And are draft eligible juniors?
They have to graduate.
So they have to graduate. So a junior can play as long as they've graduated. Okay.
Yes, correct.
Give me your thoughts, if you would, on this LSU crop of guys that you'd like to see.
There's more than 3,
yeah.
And I'm not going to go into names other than one because I've known him since he was 15 years old. I mean, I've known Garrett Nussmeier since he was 15. Well, that's because I worked with his dad with the Cowboys.
Right.
And Garrett's a great kid, and he's handled everything so well. And the other piece of this that I tried to tell these young men when I do a presentation for schools, why would you not stay somewhere and develop? And he is the perfect example of that. Sit back, learn, develop, grow, and then wait your turn, and then, be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's exactly what he's done. Nowadays, it's like, oh, I didn't get to play as a freshman, I'm leaving. In the day, there weren't a lot of freshmen that actually played because they're not prepared physically or mature. I mean, they're a little bit immature in their way they're processing, the way they're, acting like a professional. Are they? Probably not. Mm-hmm. So again, I go back to Garrett because he's prepared and he understands exactly what his motivation is. And it was to get to the NFL. Well, stay somewhere and develop and become what you are. And again, the ones that were here, yes, good players. There's probably about 4 more that will be on the list. And, I'd say that possibly anywhere from 6 to 7 would be in the game.
That'd be outstanding.
Yeah.
Always love to see that the gold helmet
Yeah.
at the Senior Bowl, the Panini Senior Bowl down in Mobile. Drew Fabianich, the executive director of the Senior Bowl. If you would, give me a Garrett or Doug Nussmeier story from 15-year-old Garrett there with the Cowboys.
I was sitting, we were watching Garrett from up top because they had a 7 on in the back of the star, right, and on our practice fields, right. And I go, how's he doing, Doug? And we're watching. I goes, he's spinning it pretty good, right? And he goes, yeah. He's like, he threw for like 7 touchdowns that day, for in that game, right?
Yeah.
But he threw like 4 picks. And I kind of was talking with Doug, and I said, there's a time where you got to kind of have a conscience, even in 7 on. Well, 7 on, these guys play so many games. It's like, oh yeah, hey, I throw 3 or 4 picks. Well, no big deal because I threw 7 or 8 touchdowns. Well, in a game, that's still not a good percentage,
right?
So I think that 7 on has actually probably influenced these guys to be probably a little too risky with the ball and a little bit too careless. And that was something that Doug and I had talked about then, and I don't know if that's changed a lot. I would say it probably has, because again, was he good manager of the game last year? Did he, protect the ball? I mean, yeah, he did. Now, will he still take a chance here and there?
Yeah.
Yeah, but most Qs will.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so that's one of the ones I still remember.
It's going to be a fascinating year.
It is.
We'll see with LSU. Lots of hopes on the field in the fall, and hope to see a lot of them in Mobile as well there in February. It's our pleasure. Thanks for the time, sir.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate you, brother.
We're brought to you by Our Lady of the Lake, championship health partner of LSU Athletics. Our Lady of the Lake, of course, the regional medical center right there off of Essen and Baton Rouge. But OLOL is just part of the Franciscan Missionaries of Our Lady Health System, a multi-state health system with hospitals and clinics serving tens of thousands of patients. It's Our Lady of the Lake, and yes, they offer championship-level health care to LSU athletes on the field, in the training rooms, but also the LSU students and our entire community. That same level of health care is available to you and me. I've told you very candidly, Eric and I were talking today about she had a conversation today with Drew's neurologist, Dr. Shah, at Our Lady of the Lake Children's Hospital. Just a week ago, before we came here, I had my annual physical at Our Lady of the Lake Men's Health Group. So that championship-level health care is something I use for myself and trust for my son, and you should as well. Access and convenience, they offer it. It's Our Lady of the Lake, OLOLRMC.com/LSU to learn more about that partnership. Our Lady of the Lake and LSU, together we roar. Thanks to Drew Fabianich for spending some time with us here. Jay Phillips earlier this hour talking a little South Carolina Gamecocks. The Tigers do the Gamecocks head to Baton Rouge this year. Our buddy Aaron Hogan from ESPN Austin was here last hour. Greg Sankey started the day with us today. If you missed the full interview with the commissioner, he spent 15 minutes with us. It's up on social media everywhere. It'll be up on YouTube as well, so you can catch our convo with the commish if you missed it. All right, it is After Further Review. Tuesday shows are powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Want to get you a quick thought on Tennessee and Auburn, who also took their turns today at Media Days. So we'll dive into that as we continue here on AFR.
AFR.
Every day I have 60 seconds to remind you about Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. And I hope this is time well spent, because the most important part of reminding you about Goodwood is how you can improve your health and your quality of life. And how important is that? Listen, as we age, every single one of us, our bodies produce less of the hormones that contribute to how we feel. It doesn't matter who you are. It's true for me, for you, for everybody. A simple blood test can let you know if you're a candidate for hormone replacement therapy. And you can safely, affordably supplement to get to healthy levels. You want to have better waking energy. You want to sleep better at night. You want to have more motivation to get in the gym. When you get there, you can burn fat, build muscle, increase your libido, all of it. Also, healthy testosterone levels are coordinated or with heart health, with prostate health. You want to live a healthier, more vital life. Goodwood can help you do it. Visit yourgoodwood.com. That's yourgoodwood.com for Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness.
Looking for a roll-off dumpster? At Trash Rangers, we have 3 sizes, and we offer dependable service, personalized attention, transparent pricing, and we're community-focused at trashrangers.com.
Get to know the Advanced Turnaround Group, part of Action Industries, proud partner of LSU Athletics.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Live from the 2025 SEC Football Media Days, powered by Parish Construction and Roofing. Enter now for your chance to win $10,000 cash at parishbuilt.com. Our coverage is also presented by Rev and Relief Windows.
We are embracing the highest of expectations. It's time for us to start climbing that mountain and winning some of those games. There's no reason with the chemistry among our staff, the additions we've added to the roster, the 2 top 10 recruiting classes. Would you love to have one more year? Sure, but there is zero reason that our team, Lord willing, we stay healthy. We're expected to compete in every single football game, and we had some difficult breaks last year go against us, so it's our turn this year for them to bounce our way.
Hugh Freeze taking the podium in year 3 at Auburn, and he is just 11-14 in his 2 seasons there. A year ago, just 5-7. The ugly loss at home to Cal, 10-point loss at home to Arkansas, the 4-point loss to Oklahoma. They got blown out by Georgia. They lost to Missouri. They lost to Vanderbilt 17-7. They lost in 4 overtimes to Texas A&M. Just an absolute. I'm sorry, they won in 4 overtimes. Texas A&M. The last loss was to Bama. Excuse me. Just a miserable year at a time when people often ask, you come to media days, what do you learn? And, who are you maybe higher on now after talking about it? And a year ago, it was Auburn, because I was reminded about how the first year under Hugh Freeze went. And look, it was the 4th and 31 against Bama. They lost to New Mexico State, a game it's like Nick Saban losing to ULM his first year at Bama, or UAB his first year at LSU. You'd sometimes have that throw up on yourself game when you're starting a new culture. They were the only team that really played Georgia tough, and I thought, man, this is maybe this is a year where Auburn would start to accelerate, and they just with Peyton Thorne, they just got bad quarterback play. They were just a bad football team, and went 5-7, and I don't know that I can buy them. But what they're doing is bringing in Jackson Arnold, who was bad offensively last year at Oklahoma, and Hugh Freeze, though, really focused on why he was confident in bringing in Jackson Arnold.
It goes back to his high school days. Truthfully, for me, that's where it began. I, like everyone else, wanted him. Thought he was super talented. There's a reason he was Gatorade Player of the Year and 5-star quarterback. And so you see all of that. Then you go in your mind to, okay, the lack of production at Oklahoma has to be, at least dealt with in your mind. And you go study all of that, and you find out the facts where they unfortunately had a lot of injuries, both offensive line and receiver. And I think that affected, Jackson's play. But you see his toughness all throughout the year, especially the Alabama game, where he really just played one tough of a football game. And you combine that with the system I want to run, and does he have the skill set for that? And there's no question in my mind that he does, and that's why we went after Jackson.
Maybe Jackson Arnold is the guy finally to unlock Hugh Freeze's offense at Auburn. They love their receivers there, which is, with Cam Coleman back, is a massive part of it. They went in the portal as well. And they returned 10 starters, 5 on offense, 5 on defense. And in a portal era, that feels like a pretty significant number. So they lose Jarquez Hunter, who is an outstanding running back there. And, they had some key losses on defense as well, but offensively, the key to this thing going is going to be Jackson Arnold fitting the scheme. And Arnold met with reporters at Media Days and talked about how he fits the scheme that Hugh Freeze is running.
Yeah, the biggest thing Coach Freeze sold me on with the scheme was one, the RPO game, and 2, the deep shots. And that's something that I've been doing a lot since high school, and even my first couple of years in college was huge in the RPOs and huge in the deep shots. Coach Freeze isn't scared to push the ball down the field, which I absolutely love. And, I thought that with my experience running the RPO game, I think it meshed well with what Coach Freeze was wanting to do with his offense.
They open up at Baylor a true road game in Waco at Baylor, a Baylor team that went 8-5 a year ago, 8-4, and then lost the bowl game to LSU, of course. But then they get a couple of breathers, Ball State, South Alabama, and then here's the gauntlet, right? The gauntlet for Auburn's in the middle of the schedule. They go at Oklahoma, at Texas A&M. They get an open date before they play Georgia at home, Missouri at home. Then they finish up at Arkansas, Kentucky, at Vanderbilt, Mercer, and then Bama. They got to start 3-0. They got to start 3-0, get to Oklahoma undefeated, and then find a way to manage that stretch of at Oklahoma, at Texas A&M, Georgia, Missouri. Those 4 games, somehow manage that stretch and keep your head above water. If you do, then you can get to the back end of your schedule where you've got Arkansas, Kentucky, Vandy, Mercer, and then Alabama with an opportunity to stockpile some wins. But for Auburn, you got to win the ones you're supposed to win this year for Hugh Freeze. I just don't know. I left here last year buying Auburn. This year, I'm not telling you I'm selling. I'm not down on them. I just need to be convinced with Auburn this year. And certainly Jackson Arnold's play at Oklahoma last year isn't going to help convince me or probably many people here that Auburn is going to have an outstanding season. They're probably just going to have to go prove it. Derek Nix back as offensive coordinator, DJ Durkin there as the DC. And LSU for the second consecutive year not going to play Auburn, which is a bummer. Hopefully that game rotates back on. Of course, we're here. Our coverage all week presented by Parrish Construction and Roofing. Go to parrishbuilt.com to enter for your chance to win $10,000 cash. We'll announce the winner on Friday when we're back in studio. We're also brought to you by Relief Windows, windows, doors, siding. Yeah, we do shutters as well. And Rev, internet phone security. Let's Rev.biz. It is after further review. We're glad you're hanging out with us here, y'all. I do want to talk in our final segment while I have a few minutes about the Tennessee Volunteers, which we missed. So we'll move quickly to make sure we get back and talk about Tennessee before we wrap up here on this day 2 of SEC Football Media Days from Atlanta, Georgia.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by Clegg's Nursery with 4 locations in the greater Baton Rouge area. Seagan near Airline, LA 16 in Denham, Mid-City on Donmore, and the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. Y'all, summer is here. Spending a lot of time outdoors, enjoying your outdoor space. You want to add a little accent to your outdoor space? You can, and our friends at Clegg's Nursery can help. You want flowers and plants and trees and shrubs? They got it. If you need mulch or soil, bag or bulk, they got it. Maybe you want some really nice tuned wind chimes, hummingbird feeders, anything to add those spectacular little accents to your outdoor space to help enjoy and beautify your outdoor areas. Our friends over at Clegg's Nursery can do it, and they've been doing that for 60 years now. So get by any of the 4 Clegg's Nursery locations in the greater Baton Rouge area. And if you have unwanted pests, they got all the things you need to get rid of those as well. One place, it's at Clegg's Nursery. So buy local, shop local, and be sure to tell them Matt sent you in. The Clegg's Nursery.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Live from the 2025 SEC Football Media Days, powered by Parrish Construction and Roofing. Enter now for your chance to win $10,000 cash at parrishbuilt.com. Our coverage is also presented by Rev and Relief Windows.
Final segment here as we get on down the stretch. Day 2 of SEC Football Media Days. Auburn, Georgia, Tennessee, Texas all taking their turns. And we'll set the stage here for day 3. I don't have time to go deep dive into Tennessee, so I'll take this opportunity to preview what's coming up on day 3, but we will circle back. Tennessee's fascinating. They did not bring a quarterback here. Nico Iamaleava obviously is now at UCLA, and so there will be a new quarterback for Tennessee. Everyone assumes it'll be Aguilar, the UCLA transfer. So time will tell who ultimately wins that job under center. But for Tennessee, a team that was 10-2 a year ago, went to the playoff, got blown out at Ohio State. Can they follow that up with another playoff season? It's going to be a steep hill with that kind of changeover at quarterback. So we will set the stage here for day 3 at Radio Row. Alabama, Florida, Mississippi State, and Oklahoma will all take their turns on Wednesday. Alabama leading off the day, along with Mississippi State, Florida, and Oklahoma in the afternoon. For Kalen DeBoer, no doubt a disappointing year 1 when you have championship expectations and you lose 3 games in the regular season and the bowl game, allowing 40 points in an embarrassing loss to Vanderbilt, losing as a double-digit favorite on the road at Oklahoma. Losing game they probably should have won at Tennessee. It will be interesting to see just how much progress they feel they made year 1 to year 2 in Tuscaloosa. So that'll be leading off the day along with Mississippi State. Jeff Lebby, it was a brutal year 1. Can you start to see progress there with Jeff Lebby and Mississippi State? That remains to be seen. So Florida and Oklahoma, Billy Napier, Brent Venables, a couple of guys who are also very much on the hot seat at their respective schools. We'll hear from all of them tomorrow. All right, thanks to Shaw Bills Tire and Auto Service, ShawBillsTire.com, ShawBillsTire.com. If you're heading on that final family road trip before school starts, take your vehicle to Shaw Bills. They'll sell you name brand tires at wholesale prices, and they'll treat you like family. So if you need that oil change, you need your tires rotated, check engine light on, brakes squeaking, Shaw Bills got you covered with locations all over South Louisiana. They're never far. ShawBillsTire.com, ShawBillsTire.com, Shaw Bills, where we keep you rolling. Okay. We're getting on out of here. If you missed anything, AFR On Demand presented by Brett Goff. Greg Sankey was here. Gary Stokin was here. Our buddy Aaron Hogan from ESPN Austin was here. Jay Phillips from Columbia, South Carolina was here. Fantastic day. Thanks to all of our guests for their great time. Thank all of you for listening. Everything is on social. If you missed anything, you can check it there. Muse Paul, thanks. We'll see y'all tomorrow at 3.
AFR.
As we get on down the road, much about Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com. You can pick up Evermore at Rouse's. I tell you, it's one of the things I am missing here this week. No Evermore on Radio Row, but I'll get it when I get back home. And you know where I'll go to get it is at Rouse's, because they've got the 4 packs of the 64-ounce bottles. They've got the 32-ounce bottles, the 16-ounce or the 20-ounce bottles, I should say, and so much more. Go to Rouse's.com. You could shop online. Remember, they make it so convenient. You can go to the website or the app, select your items. If you spend $35, it's a free service. Your personal shopper will go pick out your items. You pull up into one of the designated spots. Boom, they'll bring it out to your car. Saves you time, saves you money. It's at Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints, and celebrating their 65th year in business, locally owned and operated, still family owned and operated, and so proud to be partnered with our friends over at Rouse's. This feels like home.